25:22, chapter 23:14 to 17, 29:42 to 46, 34:22 to 24, 40:34 to 35. So the young Yeshua attended the Passover in Jerusalem and stated he was about to be about his father's business when he was maybe about 12 years old. So he's our example, and so should we be about our Father's business, making plain the plan of God to all of creation, analyzing ourselves to make sure we're not in any error over the calendar issues, over our understanding of the spiritual application of the law. So this is a lot of work to be about our Father's business, and that's why we're starting a bit early here, preparing for tabernacles, and we should be preparing all the time. Now, Jesus Christ as the wave sheaf offering is neglected by most modern feast keepers. They then miss the correct count to Pentecost on the first day of the week in unleavened bread following a Sabbath. It is not and cannot be Sivan 6, which is kept by all the people who are writing the Mishnah, and then amplified it, magnified it with the Talmud. The two together are called Gemara, but this is not new. Leviticus 23:1-2, Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel, say to them, Yehovah's appointed times which you shall proclaim as holy convocations. Proclaim, make known to all. My appointed times are these. These are the appointed times of Yehovah, holy convocations which you shall proclaim at the times appointed for them. So you can see it's our responsibility to correctly discern these appointed times, proclaim and publish them, which can be done years in advance, and should be. Amongst the Samaritans, and I think it was I forget his last name, Samuel something, published a calendar for 70 years. I don't know if that document still exists or translations of it. It'd probably be interesting to get a hold of it. So he could do the mathematics and publish a calendar with the conjunction for 70 years, so people knew. We are generally only going out about 7 years ahead, but you're ordered to do it. Now, Jesus Christ is the first of the first fruit offerings. Sometimes this isn't understood because it's applied to Pentecost more of the first fruits. Jesus Christ was the first of the first fruits. The converted of Israel are the first fruits. Because sometimes people use the fact that there were grains in an omer which was waved, and there was lots of little seeds of grain if it wasn't ground into a powder, and therefore all of the church is part of the wave sheaf offering, and that's not true. Jesus Christ is the first of the first fruits. He was the one who was acceptable, and he was offered. Fortunately for planet Earth, none of us were offered. Otherwise it would have been the plan of salvation might have been ground to a halt. We are the first fruits from the offering at Pentecost. So speak to the sons of Israel, say to them, when you enter the land I'm going to give you and reap its harvest, you shall bring the sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest to the priest. He shall wave the sheaf before Yehovah for you to be accepted. See, this sheaf was waved. Jesus Christ was waved so that we're acceptable. On the day after the Sabbath, that's the Sabbath, the seventh day of the week, not the Shabbat on, the high day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is what they have to do to give you a 7-6 Pentecost. And if you can do that, you don't need to bother counting anything. You know when it is. On the day when you wave the sheaf, you shall offer a male lamb 1 year old without defect for a burnt offering to Yehovah. In grain offering shall be 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, offering by fire to Yehovah for a soothing aroma with its libation, 1/4 of a hin of wine, not grape juice. Until this day, until you have brought in the offering of your God, you shall eat neither bread nor roasted grain from or new growth. It is to be your perpetual statute throughout your generations in all your dwelling places. And the count to Pentecost, first fruit offerings, who are the converted of Israel and the Gentiles. Verse 15, you shall also count for yourselves from the day after the Sabbath, from the day you brought in the sheaf of the wave offering, there shall be 7 complete Sabbaths. So it can't be parts of a day in one week or the end of a week, and that Pentecost ends up, day 40 something, or overlaps and it goes into the following week. No, they have to be complete Sabbaths, and you will have that from the Sunday, as we call it improperly, the first day of the week that falls inside of unleavened bread. That's your count. Then you start for complete weeks, and then you count 50, and you will end up on the first day of the week. So understanding that, it's simple to grasp this. And if you're using a Sivan 6, talking about a holy day, which changes from year to year, the holy days change. They even change even more if you're actually postponing them, so there's no back-to-back Sabbaths. Okay. Verse 20, the priest shall then wave them with the bread of the first fruits for a wave offering of the 2 lambs before Yehovah, for they are to be holy for the Lord, to the Lord for the priest. This Pentecost day is also to be proclaimed and published. Verse 21, on the same day you shall make a proclamation as well. You are to have a holy convocation, no laborious work, to be a perpetual statute throughout all your generations. And then from Pentecost we have tabernacles following along. I'm going to read all of this, Leviticus 23, 34 and 44, verses 34 to 44. Speak to the sons of Israel, saying, on the 15th day of the 7th month is a feast of booths, for 7 days to Yehovah. On the first day is a holy convocation, a holy day. You shall do no laborious work of any kind. For 7 days you shall present an offering by fire to Yehovah. On the 8th day you shall have a holy convocation and present an offering by fire to Yehovah. It is an assembly. You shall do no laborious work. So on the 8th day is the last great day. These are the appointed times of Yehovah. You shall proclaim as holy convocations to present offerings by fire to Yehovah, burnt offerings, grain offerings, sacrifices, libations, each day a matter on its own day, besides those of the Sabbaths of Yehovah, besides your gifts, besides all your votive and free will offering, all your personal sacrifices, and your work, which you give to Yehovah on exactly the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the crops of the land. You shall celebrate a feast to Yehovah for 7 days, with a rest on the first day and a rest on the 8th day. 2 holy days. 8th being the last great day. Now on the first day you shall take for yourselves foliage of beautiful trees, palm trees, boughs of leafy trees, willows of the brook, and you shall rejoice before Yehovah for 7 days. You shall thus celebrate it as a feast to Yehovah for 7 days in the year. It shall be a perpetual statute throughout your generations. Now, these boughs and leaves and willows of all this were where people were not able to leave their home property, or in Jerusalem, in the temple areas, they would make themselves a temporary dwelling, a booth, outside of their home. And for our applying that today, if you weren't able to travel or weren't able to attend the meeting, and because of circumstances or something happening, you should really pitch a tent or pitch a something in your backyard of your home property, so you can go in the house to cook the meals and use the facilities, but you spend your days and you spend your time and sleep in this booth or temporary dwelling. They used to build them even in Jerusalem and a lot of the small towns in ancient Israel. All the roofs were flat. They didn't have peaked roofs like we have, and they had to put a parapet around it so youngins couldn't fall off, or us older guys couldn't fall off the roof. And they would build the roof up there as well. So they would lean it against the house in some circumstances, or put it on the roof in others. So it's perfectly reasonable for us to pitch a tent or rent a small something or other to spend our days during tabernacle.